All right, welcome back, everybody. I got another Explorer Series video for you. This one is from Joplin, Missouri. We have the two finalists here, Steven and John. We're going to go through the top four games. Steven, you made top four pretty well, and John, you made the finalists with your Sorcerer. And before we get into it, I wanted to say we have another Explorer Series coming up June 21st in Columbus, Ohio at 5-6 Gaming. I'll have links in the description for everybody. I think we're at 19 or 20 people signed up already, so that's really awesome. But yeah, Steven, and John, welcome to the YouTube channel. Mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I can kick it off. Stephen Woolley from Team Covenant or Covenant eventually, once we can finally buy that domain from the tech company in Austin that currently owns it. But yeah, we've been doing, tabletop gaming, card game videos ever since kind of the beginning of YouTube, to be honest. So many, many years now. And have fallen in love completely with Sorcery and had a great, great time at this event.
Nice. And John?
And John, some people call me John the Tall, and I've just recently got it into sorcery, right a little bit before Arthurian Legends come out, and found it through some of the art by Quentin Hoover, and so fell in love with it as well. The art, the gameplay, the grid, I love it all.
That's awesome. And then one first question here: did you guys have a memorable moment at the event of like the location or anything that stood out to you about the event that was really cool?
For me, the this was one of the, if not the best event that I've maybe ever been to. The energy and the vibe in general of just kind of it felt like that old fashioned, more intimate gathering of people who really loved what they were doing rather than competing for prizes or trying to, be the top champion, win the cash prize, that kind of thing. But it was a beautiful day. We were at a campground in Joplin. Pete was hosting, wonderful guy. And then it's like after your round, you can go outside and sit in a rocking chair in the shade and talk to other people, relax, take it easy, and then go back in about an hour and play your next round. And that cadence and that vibe of the event was just spectacular.
And it
Amazing.
really harkened back for me some of the times, like I said, in the early 90s, or mid 90s, playing, 6 to 8 of us get together in someone's house and stay up all night playing Magic at the kitchen table. So it was just really memorable for that. And then Pete put on such a great event. The site was amazing. The prize support was spectacular. So all in all, it was just really, really well worth it.
That's awesome. I couldn't make it, but I'm glad that event was awesome. We went to the first Midland Mayhem last year, and it was a fun time as well. But starting out here, this is the one of the top four games. Steven, this is versus Brandon Posey. He has Seer, and I'm pretty sure this is a draft, right? Top eight draft.
Yeah, this was after our top eight draft. So this is the top four of the draft game, single elimination.
So we don't have any video of the draft. Do you guys want to talk about how you guys drafted, or like your experience drafting, or if like a sorcery draft is
Yeah,
very interesting?
well, I know John's is a little bit different just based on his beta pack that he first opened. But for me, I think draft is kind of an experience of always feeling like you're a bit lost in the woods and that you're making all the wrong decisions. And then
Yeah.
as you play your games, you realize that everybody else kind of felt the same way. So one thing that I was talking to Zach about when I got home was actually how much less powerful it feels like draft decks are compared to sealed decks in sorcery in particular. And it's really because, in a sorcery pack, you might have 1 to 2 good bodies, high powered creatures, and then you might have one maybe removal, maybe two removal spells, depending on beta or Arthurian Legends. AL, obviously, a lot less. And, so by the third pick in any given pass, you're kind of scraping the second tier.
Yeah.
So the reality is just like you have a bigger kind of pocket of bombs that you draft early on in a pack, and then it's about filling in the gaps. So you're looking at your one threshold cards that are playable, your two threshold cards that are playable. What elements do you need to go into to play the best cards that you've grabbed, and then finding ways to bring value to lesser known cards or maybe less powerful cards. I was just reflecting after the event. I think a lot of those squires giving lance tokens to the spellslinger so that spellslinger can take 2 power units off the board is actually a pretty powerful thing in draft, and something that I tremendously undervalued, because at a certain point your spellslinger is doing almost literally nothing. And so enabling some cards that will turn your spellslinger into something useful is, if I were to draft again, I would put a little higher priority on those cards.
Yeah, I would agree with all that. The two things that I've learned over the course of like Sorcery's evolution of drafting is 4 and 5 power minions are really good. Lances are better than you think, and single threshold splashable cards are your core of your deck, because you like you said, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, pick 6 of your pack, and like all these cards are kind of mediocre and they're not really gonna like swing the game any which way. But as long as it's one threshold, I think you can reasonably play it safely.
Yeah. Look at this turn 3 Patrician Cavalry too. Yeah. Yikes!
Right
That's
out
good.
the gates. Yeah. And you drafting towers.
I agree with that on the.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, but I agree with that on the drafting. Like we had drafted a couple times that night, just practicing, which I'd never drafted before. So my first pick out of the Arthurian Legends, which we started with, was Magic Missile. So I was kind of going that way, knowing that probably Earth and Fire was going to be pretty hot. I was going to try and scrape what I could. And then when we got to beta, first pack, I had the Sorcerer in it, so that was an obvious pick. And so I had to kind of pivot from there. So it was an interesting draft for sure.
Yeah,
I love Brandon's shrink into desert play there. That is like,
yes,
that's a great way to think about how you can string cards together in draft that wouldn't generally see these kinds of combos in constructed.
I really like that play Brandon did. I don't love that he did it on turn 3. Like, I'm always I'm fearful of turn 4, 5, and 6 of some big bomb I can't remove. And so, like, if I can match a 3/3 with a 3/3, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to save my, like, quote-unquote hard removal. But there is no easy removal in Limited. Like, there's berries and stuff, but you have to get creative on how you're going to trade profitably in Limited for sure.
Yeah. And, like, right now, I have Violent Imp in hand. I remember almost 100%. So I'm waiting for Polar Bears to come over. I could block that with the Dead of Night, but I know that I've got a favorable trade in Violent. So this is kind of good news for me. Is like, great, I'll take 2 damage to go a card up.
Yeah, and then I think he bogged your Dead of Night Demon. So
he did.
Yeah. So,
yes.
So taking 2 damage is like totally fine, and in a lot of limited games, even in Magic and whatever, life is a resource. So blocking or attacking when you have a profitable trade is much more advantageous than just chump blocking. Like, chump blocking is a very thing you want to try to avoid. And there's the Violent.
There's the Violent, another Dead of Night there. And I ended up, these demons were coming around hot in the draft, so I was taking anything that was on curve with any amount of value beyond these 2/2 stealth. That's a pretty good little unit for draft.
Yeah, I was watching your stream. Was it yesterday when you were talking about Joplin? And
yeah,
you said you got like a sub theme. I don't think I've seen so many Dead of Night demons and like between you and John in the finals game I watched already. There are so many Dead of Night demons. It's like all these 2/2s running around. It's just very interesting.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's at a certain point, it's what you have, what you have to pick.
Yeah.
But I liked these guys a lot. Okay, so this is a fascinating play here. We talked about this afterwards. Mm-hmm. So Brandon plays Bailey here and then swings with Lumbering Giant. And that, if you sequence that differently, I actually make a different decision here. So I'm going to choose to defend and trade out Lumbering Giant for my Violent and my Dead of Night. But if he doesn't play Bailey there, I actually don't think that I'm going to do that. But I figure these units have, 2 turns before they're of any use to me at all, because they have to go around that Bailey. So I may as well just make the trade there. And I think that's a fascinating reality in Sorcery, to find those moments where the game could have gone an entirely different direction, like a butterfly wing, metaphor, if attack and then Bailey rather than Bailey and then attack.
And
And I don't know which is better.
I like playing Bailey afterwards. I like doing all my actions beforehand. And I've talked to Brandon about this. Brandon is a local friend of mine. His sequencing, he's very like, I'm going to do it. And then he does it. And then he does more things. It's very, like, do all your actions before you give up any more information. Kind of like sequencing.
There's the old Caravan. This is kind of an MVP in limited formats. It's one of these cards that is just built perfectly for limited. It is bad in every way that it's also good.
It's 1 threshold.
I mean,
it's 4 power. It's overcosted. It's exactly what you want. But playing a 4/4
it's like
just wins the game sometimes.
It does. Like for some constructed decks, having all these types is good. It enables your combos, but this also is like mortality kills it. I mean, anything that targets a keyword kills it. So at the end of the day, 4 power is 4 power. I think that's the story of limited for me at this point in my journey with sorcery.
Yeah. John, you said you came into limited or sorcery later in the sorcery life, but when it was just beta drafting limited, it was 3/3s to the wall. Draft all the one threshold 3/3s you could, and just play 3/3s constantly, and that was like the best strategy you could be doing. But yeah, 4 power is your breakpoint nowadays, especially with lances be able to punch up 1 extra toughness. 4 power is like where you want to be.
4G really good.
Yes.
When you can create a lance and just pick it up with anything, so good.
Yeah.
One of my other matches was playing against Lucy, and she had a lance on a scent hounds that was just trying to wreck me. So
yeah,
that's sorcery, baby.
A 2/2 little dog with a pokey stick. Yeah, and then so
that's an unusual.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I was gonna say that's unusual. What like retreating units like that is not common. But
yes.
Oh, look at that Cyclops! Ouch.
Yeah. So Brandon played his Wasteland to the far right, letting your opponent play his sights all the way up to the front when you can't do it to him too. So like you played stream in front of his bog, but putting a sight right next to his avatar is just so threatening, and you have like this launch point that you can now like attack through. Like you can get around Bailey easily. I earlier would have wished to see a Wasteland to where you put your updraft ridge there, but all these little micro decisions like is what gives the depth to the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a big thing to be able to get around that Bailey, because otherwise is really slowing me down about a turn every time, especially if he just has less to defend. And that can be a huge advantage, obviously. But I mean, 6/6. I think this was a first pick, or I think it was first pick or second pick out of a pack. This unit is just answer it or lose territory to me.
Yes.
Or play a bunch of small stuff and just win fast.
So Cyclops, I think, like I get he's a 6/6 and can like the tempo you can get from this thing is amazing, and like in limited it's decent, but man, it doesn't strike back when you attack it. You can't, even if you defend with it, it doesn't strike back. So I can throw as many minions as I want into this thing, and it doesn't kill any of my stuff. But I get where you're coming from with it. Like a big 6/6 body is what you need, for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. And here Brandon's correctly set up to block 6. If he wants to come in with the Coral Reef and the Knight, he could do that technically. But it's still. And he wouldn't lose his units, but it still puts him in a really weird position, because you're attacking into that avatar, and it's like those units suddenly then become worthless. So now there's actually no threat of defense here, so I'm kind of free to either eat the Kelpie or give him 6.
Yeah, and then this is the turn in a lot of limited games. There you go with a removal spell, like turn 5 and 6. If you is the blowout turn. If something happens wrong, everything's gonna fall apart. Just like that, where you punched him for 12. It's like, oh, oops.
That's yeah, that one spell opened up all that damage.
Yeah. Removed your minion.
Brandon's such a good player and such a good guy. I learned a lot just from playing with him, and and asking questions. Him and Dalton both.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed meeting those guys for sure.
So their Brandon had to drown, so maybe that's why he didn't want to block, which makes
Yeah.
sense. But
Yeah, that's I'll bet those were fairly easy to come by in the draft. That's cool if you can pick all those drowns up.
yeah,
You really
no,
want to put a forward-facing water side if that's the case. Which he had the bog there, so it's really on the right track.
and then Bailey to block the land site to push you into a water site. Like there, I think he
Hmm.
had ideas and plans there. It just got foiled by a removal spell, which is what happens in limited.
Yeah.
No, and then to your point, John, Brandon and Dalton are both local players to me, and we all three, and we have a group chat, and we talk about different plays and different decks and different strategies and whatnot constantly.
And that's a good place for Midnight Rogue.
Yep. get to shoot for front. So that again, having a site next to your uh, opponent's avatar is just a huge like threat point that now he has to defend that and has to deal with it. It's just hard to. It's just so much pressure in sites, and
Hmm.
yeah. Back to I think limited is the biggest showing of positional choices matter so very much in the game, where you play your sites, where you play Bailey, where you play your minions can change every single game.
Hmm. And that's a bummer. They're having to swing into
Yes.
Caravan and then firebolts it. That sucks. I mean, there's not really a better thing to do depending on the hand, but you got to turn the spigot of forever damage off, but you got to take some now. That's where those lance tokens just get so strong.
Where you get
Crazy.
to not free trade, but like if he had a lance, he could firebolt and then punch it with a lance and not take any damage, right?
Yeah, that just prevents 4 damage.
Yeah. And then I think he was looking at it like the caravan plus the rogue, he's at door anyways, so it doesn't getting rid
Hmm.
of a thing is probably advantageous to than leaving it on the board.
Yeah, it's a good example of in limited, can you mobilize your avatar to create any kind of value? Because that, assuming that the draft decks are fairly equal, utilizing that avatar is the next stage of how can I create a little bit more value, a little bit more advantage than my opponent to push me over the edge. And this is devastating. Raised Dead is such a good card. I can't even.
You
It's
have
so good, and it doesn't even. You can summon it anywhere. It doesn't even matter what it is, really.
like your only dead
Ugh.
hit here, I think, is like Sly Fox. Everything
Yeah,
else is totally
yeah.
fine. A 3/3, a 4/4 with shard, like anything is just a complete blowout.
But it's funny, even weirdly, like Sly Fox with this close to death's door.
Is also good.
It's like I don't know. I mean, that's also like a kill shot. It's like a
Yep.
kill spell. So
And
Yeah,
then
sneak right in there for sure.
yeah, and you can summon it anywhere. You can put it anywhere. You can do whatever you want. It's Raised Dead is definitely a sneaky one.
yeah, and hitting Kobold is about the greatest. Instant results.
Oh, that's so rough.
Yeah, it's so good. This really went it went well for me looking back on it.
Yeah. Uh,
And then we slapped the land or Death's Door, I reckon. Well, soon to be with Kobolds.
yeah. So punch for 2, and then Kobolds at the end of turn, take him to door. Um, going with the I was wondering how that thing got stealth again. The Swindler Shroop.
Yep.
Did you end up? It looks like you ended up drafting 3 color. Were you like base water splashing 2 colors or pretty even across the board?
I think I was 4 sites across all 3. And it kind of bit me in our game with John because I was having to go more into site draw than I wanted to try to find my second water.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 2 Swindler Troops are the only 2 threshold cards, maybe 3 Swindler Troops in there. Nice love potion. Love that.
Sneaky love potion is really interesting.
Uh-huh.
And and giving your rogue stealth again means that kobolds can't remove it, and stealth is so good.
It's actually pretty crazy, yeah. I didn't realize how fortunate that was. No, but like I drew the 2 Swindler Troops early on in the game against John, and so I had 2 dead cards until I found my second water, and that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, we'll see that here in a second. I remember editing that. It's like that's back to the double threshold and single threshold things where that double threshold in limited, if you're going 3 colors, is a huge cost. It's a thing to be considered.
Absolutely.
You can, like, if you had base water where you were like maybe 5 water sites or 6 water sites, and then splashed the 2 other colors, and the 2 other colors all have 1 threshold, I think you're like safer. But threshold is a sketchy thing to be in 3-color limited.
And with a troop, I mean, if it's 1 threshold, that's such value being able to play a 3/3 for 3 and have it give something stealth.
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think if this was
tough. Yeah, I was saying it's tough because you're always, and this is why limited is like the greatest format of all time, is do you want to play your best cards, or do you want to play them consistently?
Yes.
And a lot of times the draft is fairly ruthless in giving you better cards than your threshold tolerance is comfortable playing.
Yeah, I value playing cards on curve / not having threshold issues very highly when I draft and play limited games.
Yeah.
So Brandon's here. He's making a valiant effort to make you work for it, playing Giant Shark and like getting onto some water sites, and but it's kind of like a sealed deal at this point. You just gotta get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a very interesting thing about sorcery players is 98% of the time people will play it out because you just never know. I feel like in other games you just get to, oh, you're at 18, I'm at 0, you have 3 cards in hand, sure, you win. And it's a very different dynamic to play it all the games out to completion to see what happens, because sorcery is so swingy and it has like Atlantean Fate and Poison Nova and these big impact cards. You can dig out of this. Like if Brandon had a Poison Nova, like everything gets reset and then he can rebuild his board. And if you don't have a direct damage thing, he could win. Like there is like a world where something can happen.
Yes, that's the beauty of it. And Giant Shark is the perfect let your opponent make a dumb mistake card.
Yes.
Which I'm, of course, like just extremely worried about at this point. Like I know how this works. But...
Yeah, but Giant Shark triggers will catch even the most experienced players for sure. But
and so force the entrance into water, and
yeah, you timed all those perfectly. And I did like Brandon's Sea Serpent play on top of your ranged minion to catch that projectile, even though it disables the minion. Like that was good. And then so we're gonna move on to the finals.
That was a way out.
Yeah, move on to the finals here with you and John with the the sorcerer, the dreaded sorcerer. Sorcerer used to be the default avatar for limited. Wasn't that wild?
It's so funny. John, I don't know. In our Discord, at least, I was keeping people up to date throughout the event, and I was like, just finished the top 8 draft, but I think John drafted Sorcerer, so this is all, we're just kind of waiting for him to win. But that said, honestly, playing through this game and kind of reviewing it in my head, I'm excited to watch it again. It didn't really feel that bad. It didn't feel like it was an auto win or anything like that. I felt like I had a good shot at this, and that we had a really good game here.
Yeah, it was really, really good. I noticed that you were digging, for that double water threshold, and that had me nervous. And I was like, why does he keep doing sites? I was expecting a Klansman to pop up soon.
I think there was one in there. I think there was one. I do like to grab the Klansman if I can.
Yeah, Highlands Klansman is a great 7-drop kind of bomb and limited, kind of blow open the game. So John, here you're talking about your turn 1 Lance. It's very good.
So good.
That comes into play later, which was good.
What do you guys think if you're going into a limited match against Sorcerer? What is the plan? So I kind of started by thinking I need to go as fast as possible and get damage. My only out here is, can I win before 2 cards a turn becomes insurmountable card advantage? But then towards the end of the game, I was like, maybe I should have played a little safer and tried to fatigue Sorcerer and just outlast. Is there common wisdom on that, Bruce or John, about how you would approach this matchup?
So first off, little misplay here. No air threshold playing a Hider Sprites, but John, you said you have air in hand. It was just like you played Aspire first. It's all the same. So I don't think that really affected the match a whole
Yeah,
lot.
it didn't matter.
Yeah. But to your question, it's so hard to answer. I think it's a tempo game. You have to like get on top of them and make them respond to your stuff before they can really get turned on. And going into the game, if that doesn't work out, you have to really focus on 2-for-1s and or profitable trades. You cannot do 1-for-1 trades into Sorcerer. It's just you'll lose the card advantage, and then you'll run out of resources. But yeah.
Yeah, because I think later on, as we'll see, I think Steven got me down to maybe like 10 before I could really start advantage of double drawing and, getting enough cards to overcome, what his threats.
See, this is exactly how it needs to go. This right here is like perfect early game against Sorcerer. Hydra Sprites have been killed twice. +1 card on both of those exchanges. The rush is on. This feels really good.
Yeah, no, you're in a very good spot to have a clear board with 2 minions. And now he has to respond to your pressure and your tempo, and it's exactly where you want to be.
I hate that Lance token sitting there, John.
You're looking at it and it's like, oh, I just know this is coming. Another Dead of the Night Demon. Your guys' draft pool must have been like full of these things to see 3 of them at the top 4.
Yeah, so now it's like, do you get a free swing with Imp because John holds to block favorably this is basically the question.
Yeah, this is a hard, I don't know what's in your hand. I think if you have a follow-up minion, you offer the trade. And
yeah.
Well, that was kind of my goal in the draft. Once I got the Sorcerer, I was trying to see if I could only play 4 lands or sites and make sure that I didn't double draw and maybe just play 2 minions a turn and just overwhelm force like that and have blockers and 1 or 2 attacks.
Yep.
And I like this. This looks great.
You're in a good
what
position.
What could go wrong here, John? This is perfect.
Yeah, I'm stressing.
Is that the best place for that cavalry?
I think it is. You don't want to play on the same site. You don't want to pile up your minions on the same site for the.
John.
Yeah, the mortality into a
Drafted
stalker.
3 of them.
John he had a deck full of nothing but mortality. It's like, it's absurd how many. I respect this card so much more than I ever have.
From last year at Midland Mayhem, the friends I went with, we decided mortality, at least a 1 of, is totally playable because there's always mortals running around, and it's just a hard kill spell, and you just don't have those a lot. And if you look at the best cards to be playing, you have Amazon Warriors, you have Highland Clansmen, like we mentioned before, we have Cavalries, they're all mortals, and mortality is just a hard removal spell for any one of those.
And it
We're
targets
sitting
a
on
location.
the porch. Yeah, when we were sitting on the porch, I think we were talking about in beta there was 80-something mortals or something.
Yep. Yeah, I've talked to some of the EU folks who draft a lot, and they say they don't like mortality, and I'm like, I still don't understand. Like, mortality, I think, is, if you play 1, I can understand it. Playing 2, playing 3, I think, is a little too deep for me. But I would rather play another like minion or something. But mortality is sneaky good.
Yeah. I'm deeply curious if you swing with Spectral Stalker and I block with that demon, that is an absolute mistake. So I'm curious to see what I do here. I would take the 4 damage here. Oh, okay. Well then, there you go. That's why I didn't do it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I didn't have a choice. Got it.
Yeah.
Oof, this is turning.
Yeah. So this is like, you still have the most power on board, but this is where you start to like fall behind. You really need to play like a bigger minion, like a 4/4 or something that it's harder for the low to the ground aggro deck to remove, like Sorcerer is right now.
And Scarabs doing 4 to anything is now a problem.
Is very much a problem. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and like even like Desert Scarab, it's like so scary to be anywhere near. I'm like, come on, John, block that.
That's where I passed the Sorcery IQ test.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, then Steven, I don't know if you had another land or you needed that fire for that desert, but holding, especially in beta AL limited draft, holding deserts until the absolute last point to see if you could just pick something off, like a 3/3 with Lance, like one of
Yeah.
the squires, is very much a thing I want to be holding deserts for.
Yeah, I did that. I did that twice. I did in the last game too. I think that was the only way I could play Violent.
Oh, okay.
Early on turn 2, basically to get Hydra sprites. So yeah, not ideal.
And that's
maybe
that's
I
just what happens sometimes.
Yeah. And I also, against Sorcerer, I'm trying to not use my turn draw on sites unless I absolutely have to. As I'd rather tap Spellslinger to get the site that way and get up one actual spell. Oh, John, you almost blocked there. Oh my gosh.
Well, I
Yeah.
figured that since I had the sorcerer with the lance, that I would go ahead and attack that way, and that way I would be at a direct line for you. So it's kind of a double advantage for me in that when I was able to attack around there.
That's true.
That's a very good point. Getting out of line of sight from spellcasters is not a bad idea to do throughout the game. There's Rolling
Especially being
Boulder,
a
there's any of the magic missiles or
Snowball.
firebolts. Snowball is a big one. Like getting out of line of sight, unless you need to be in line of sight, is very smart.
Because like right here, like a Firebolt or Magic Missiles looks so good if I have it. Take the Scarabs out, and if the Stalker's not there, it's especially good. Oh, nice. Yeah, so you do that, John. Very, very good. Now, it's kind of cool because that's like -1 card technically over the course of the game.
Yeah, being able to remove that minion, quote unquote, for free.
Yeah, and then also he's tapping a Sorcerer to do that instead of drawing.
Yep.
So the opportunity cost kind of equals out.
And then John, I'm not a huge fan of. I'm going to push back on an Apprentice Wizard a little bit. You're Sorcerer. You already have all the card draw in the world. How much better would a 3/3 be right now? Is my only opinion here.
Which is true, and I was thinking, just being, a novice at sorcery drafting, I was thinking since I've got sorcerer, if I can play him and still get up on card advantage with playing a site or having to move.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, you see draw a spell, like it's never a bad idea to draw another card. It's just like I would rather have another minion to pressure my opponent with, especially as sorcerer. But
I do like Apprentice Wizard quite a bit. If you feel like your winning strategy for whatever you drafted is reliant on 2 or 3 very significant cards,
yes,
that can help you accelerate into those. It sounds like, John, I think you just built Sorcerer plus value, like 2 drops and 3 drops. Is that right?
Yeah, and I'm thinking here, and I don't know if I played a minion that was higher than 3 power in this whole game.
I don't think you did. No.
And right now I'm holding Poison Nova, so I'm really trying to get to a point where I don't have to move Spellslinger and I can play Poison Nova and get as many cards off the board as possible.
Yep.
And it's tough. It's tough because that freaking Scarabs.
Scarabs is terrifying for sure.
I love Phantasmal Shade also for what it's worth, especially with Lance tokens. I've got 3 Relic Squires in here, and dropping a Lance on a Phantasmal Shade is very good. But it's also pretty exposed.
It's a very fragile card for sure.
It's a little fragile.
Yeah. John or Steven, would you do anything different throughout your draft, or like you're happy with what you did? / like, would you play like get 4/4s, or would you kind of go with the same swarm mentality looking back at it?
I had a lumbering giant in my hand the entire game, and I just never played it because I always wanted to go, either a spell and a minion, or 2 minions, or 2 spells, or whatever. So I think for this particular draft, I think I was fine, and I wasn't seeing a lot of big stuff come my way either. So I was just having to get, the most value that I could for what I saw.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think I was about halfway through the draft when I just kind of accepted the fact that the only good cards coming my way are 2 threshold of various elements. And so I think if I was a little bit more aware of how that was coming down, I would have drafted some maybe less overall good cards to be a little bit more consistent. And this game really is going to signify that. Right now, I'm holding 2 threshold water cards in my hand. So I've got 2 dead cards that I've got to decide, do I want to draw sites to try to find water to play these cards, or do I just write off that I've got 2 cards I'll never play in this game? And that's a really, really tough position to be in against Sorcerer, because you can't have 2 dead draws.
Yes, like you're down 2 cards, right? Like all your work you've done to trade profitably is like undone by those 2 cards.
Yeah, and you can see John just absolutely closing the window here with just playing 2 drops every single turn. I also will forever think Phantasmal Shade has Airborne, so if I do anything weird with that card, that's probably why.
Yep, it feels like it should
It's
have
got
Airborne,
wings.
right? Yeah.
It's got wings right there. I mean, come on, Eric.
That's a good call.
Yeah, then John, I don't know how many cards you had in hand throughout the game. Was there like a point when you got like took 5 or 6 cards in hand?
Yeah. There was a point whenever Steven asked me how many cards I had, and there was like I had 5. I think I got 3 right now. One of them's the giant, one of them's a mortality, and I don't remember the third.
Yeah, and so my point to their asking is like when I found that playing sorcerer in limited/constructed, it is very important to know when to draw sites. Like I know your game plan was to get to 4 and stop, but if you got to 5, you could do 3s and 2s instead of 1s and 2s, or 1s and 3s, and like knowing those breakpoints of your deck of like when you can double spell. I think getting to 5 when you have 5 mana in or 5 cards in hand is not a unreasonable thing to do, and you could have like played a little more, like still double spelled, but a little more impactful double spells, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I hate that I had to. Maybe I didn't have to do that, but ugh. Having to arc lightning there on a scarab. See, I'm looking at like
yeah, arc lightning on scarabs is rough.
I just go to death's door if I don't do that.
Yes.
Because I take 4 from the scarabs and then 2 from the other 3 units, and I've got the poison over here, so okay, we'll pile them up. Maybe that was a little bit greedy. I don't know.
It's your way out. Like you could have poison Nova'd and only left the special stalker behind.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that would have been better, and then you had a targeted removal for something else in the future.
That really does feel better in retrospect, actually.
So then you're only taking 2. I know it feels weird to play Poison Nova, and like if you didn't have Phantasmal Shade, you could have played at the site under the Stalker, and you could have maybe done something that way. But getting your Stalker out of there so you didn't kill it makes a lot of sense too. But yeah, missing a minion with a Nova feels awkward.
This is also the moment when just the worst. I also was not appreciating that the owl had Airborne. It's an owl, of course, so that's like the stupidest thing to not realize. But I'm thinking my shade is safe over here, as long as I don't swing with it.
That's why you didn't attack with it. I was like looking that back when I was editing. It's like that was an interesting move.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of it advances the owl a little bit past where it would otherwise be. But at the end of the day, I was thinking I'm going to preserve the Phantasmal Shade here, but it in fact was not that. So this, I believe, is my first water site.
Yep, first water site.
Big problem.
Yep,
and I could play Squire onto Phantasmal Shade and drop the Lance, but I have to Poison Nova, I think, instead. And so we're just close to it mattering. And I would just absolutely move that Shade if I was thinking correctly here.
It's important
John's
to read
like,
your opponent's cards. He's like, why didn't he move that?
What an idiot.
I'm still in shock of Poison Nova, so I was like, man, I gotta recover from this.
Yeah, 3 for 1 is like, oh, I've been blown out. How am I ever going to recover from this? Yeah.
Not moving that Shade that's a massive mistake here, I would say.
Yeah.
Kind of, definitely. That unit's, because I got Squire coming into. Oh my gosh, no.
it's
That would have
it's
been
a little
great.
painful watching back old gameplay, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know the
Yes,
feeling well. It's like,
unfortunately.
why did I do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah. I remember when he moved the owl over there, I was like, that can't. Oh, yeah. Got it. Yes, again, it's an owl. Of course it flies.
So here, I think is the craziest turn I think I've seen in a limited game. So you got your double
Double
water,
troop.
double troop, give one of them stealth, but John's response to it is absolutely perfect. It's
It's
amazing.
nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah.
The man's crazy. I think I'm at least. I mean, this is strong. This is 2/3 power bodies. Board is clear. I've got 7 mana to spend. I mean, I'm in the money. I've got like 3 or 4 cards in hand as well. Remember correctly, and I see Sorcerer move up, and that's when you know something's about to go down.
And he attacks. Good use of like, uh, yeah,
Oh my gosh!
double mortality. That's
Like
amazing.
of all the, that was not on the bingo card for me in that moment. I would never have guessed that that was about to happen. That's the game right there. I mean, come on.
That's awesome. That I can't.
Unbelievable, really. You're a madman, John. And look,
Yeah, I
there's the
appreciate it.
caravan. I had the beef coming.
Mhm.
Dang it.
Yeah, so yeah, now in this position, like as Spellslinger versus Sorcerer, you can only play one thing a turn. I don't know how many cards you have left in your deck, John, but like now you can really start doing the Sorcerer Swarms thing and starting to recover. Um, yeah.
Got a lot of cards in hand here.
Yeah. No, Steven, you
One
have
of them was a
okay.
leap attack, and then the giant I still was holding on to. So, oh, and the magic missile that I drew that was in my first opening hand.
Oh, you had magic missiles in hand from the very get go.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
Wow, so he could just move in and missile for door, but I think John, you play this much more conservatively and correctly and not getting in a hurry here. I think a lot of people would take it and then maybe dig to try to find the kill. But no, you just do the old dump.
Yeah, and not even bothering protecting your life totals because like I'm gonna get you to door and I have kill in hand. So very good job looking 2 or 3 turns ahead. And then my biggest tip for limited is never spend your kill spell if you don't have another kill spell in hand. You're gonna get you're gonna get to door at basically the same time 90% of the time. Like if you play well and both players have a reasonable deck, it's gonna be a double death door, and a lot of the time it's just whoever has the kill spell is the winner. So
And what a great example there, Spell Slinger with the Lance doing something valuable.
getting rid of a lethal minion. And then John, I cut you off. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay.
An interesting thing too about when playing limited is you get to see a lot of cards that normally don't get played in constructed or competitive play.
Absolutely.
Got Sea Raider. That Sea Raider's good, y'all.
Yeah, it can be decent. It's a decent 3/3 if you're in water. Yeah.
Even right here, like 3 damage, kill the camel, get a spell. I mean, I know it's gonna be a 2-cost spell, so
Right?
easy play.
You can play it.
And then yeah,
That's where this is the kind of card where it's like draft decks are definitely a little bit different. Well, very different from sealed in the grand scheme.
that is a very good point. I gotta say, I've watched your streams from the very beginning of Sorcery, and watching you learn limited has been a pretty interesting like journey to follow. And I feel like in the last couple months, something unlocked in your understanding of the game where you build decks differently now than you did 6 or 7 months ago. Just watching anecdotally through your streams. So
It's true. And I still, like, even yesterday, like, that rocked my world. I was like, this limited deck is incredible. And then I just got swarmed.
yep.
And so it even changes again. This is why the limited format is so awesome. I feel like I'm constantly trying to figure out the best methodologies, and it's always evolving and changing. And that's how you know a game is really good. That's spin attack, patience, John, so genius. Like, that's just a great lesson in not getting in a hurry when you're ahead. Very, very good.
Appreciate
So
it. Thank you.
the fact that you know that I can get you to death's door and you're letting it happen gives me every indication that you've got what you need to end the game. So then my next question is what can I do to turn off the greatest number of spells that could kill me? And so do you play around lightning bolt? Do you play around magic missiles? Try to put a blocking body up? I think that's what I'm doing here. Is it even going to matter?
Yeah. And it's really fun when you get like proficient at limited or just any card game of like knowing what's coming and how you're going to kill me with the magic missiles. It's just like, all right, you have it or not. And
just I needed a 3 power there instead of a 2 or something
Yeah.
like that. And then I think, John, you also had you had a leap attack, right? As well as that spin attack. Yeah. So you had it everywhere from Sunday, just from that freaking camel. That's a good game.
That was a great game. GG's all around. Double mortality to you, like that was a great follow up to Poison Nova to like put 6 power on board, and then the answer that was awesome.
So good.
Yeah, it was all
So
back
good.
and forth. I mean, it was a great game. It was a great game to be a part of, and hope a lot of people enjoy watching it too.
Yeah. So, and on that note, thank you everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Steven. Thank you, John, for joining. Thank you for reviewing this. Next event, like in the beginning, June 21st in Columbus, Ohio, 5-6 Gaming. I have descriptions. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you next time.
And hey, Bruce, thank you so much for doing this and doing everything on the channel too, because it's it's a thankless job a lot of the time, and you're putting a ton of energy and effort into it, and we appreciate it. On the anyone who enjoys Sorcery probably is watching your videos, and they're great. So keep doing it, please. Thank you.
Well, thank you, man.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy it. I like to disseminate information and help people get better at the game, right?
It's working.
Awesome.
Agreed.
Thank you, everybody. I'll see you next time.